Hey, this is a quick insight into the double materiality assessment. In this video, I'm going to tell you what the DMA is about, what the steps of a DMA are, and some of my personal recommendations. So let's dive in. Okay, so about the double materiality assessment. So in general, the double materiality assessment, or DMA, is basically the first step of the CSRD to just realize what are the topics that are relevant to the company. About why companies have to do it. So first of all, it's mandatory. So I think that's already a very good reason. But then also, as I said before, the ESRS has over 1,000 data points. So to report on all of those would be a lot, especially if a lot of data points are not relevant to your company. So you do the DMA to limit the data points that are important to your company and that you have to report on. So therefore, this is a very helpful step. The DMA must then be done before the CSRD the first time and then annually. But this is like, if you do it right, it's not that you have to do it starting over every year again and you have the same effort. Basically, as soon as you do a double materiality assessment, then over the year, you can work on it, you can improve on it, you can look into a couple more details and then make sure that your assessment each year is a little bit better. Because your company is most likely not going to change completely, but then still some things change, some things in the environment might change. So it makes sense to really look at it and try to improve the assessment each year. So what are the steps? In general, the double materiality assessment looks at the impact materiality and the financial materiality. So the impact materiality is how the company affects the environment, and the financial materiality is how the environment affects the company. And if you do that, you basically end up with a matrix like this one that you have most likely already see, where you see, okay, those topics are the material or relevant topics for your company. And to get there, the process in theory is not that complicated. You just have to map your IROs for 92 topics. So there are 92 different topics, and you then have to assess for your company the impacts, whether they are positive or negative, the risks and the opportunities. And if you go through all of that process, you then end up with such an assessment. Of course, I'm simplifying here a lot, so the process has more detail and more steps to it. But in general, this is what you have to do to really do the double materiality assessment. But don't underestimate the process. So there are companies that need half a year for this, and this is not uncommon. It's a difficult process, especially in the beginning, but very simplified. You have to go through those steps. About my recommendations. So it's important for a company to choose the approach. There are the different ways of going with a consultant where someone else does the work for you, or that you can do the work all by yourself, or you choose a middle ground with the software where you basically do it yourself, but the software helps you a lot in deciding where and what to do. And without knowing your company, I can't really tell you what is the best way for you. It really depends on a lot of things, like how much experience do you have with sustainability reporting in general? Have you done an analysis before? Have you maybe even done a DMA before? This all affects it quite a lot. But in my experience, it's always very good to dive into the topic and really understand what is this about, what are the challenges, what are other companies that are similar to us struggling with, and how do they solve the problem, to then just know, okay, this is the situation, and based on this, I'm going to take a decision. This is why we have in a Navigator, we focus a lot on interviews with sustainability managers so that we can really show hey, the market, or especially companies similar to you, they're approaching the problem in this type of way. They are trying to solve these problems. They have those challenges. And once you understand that, once you dive into that and you really understand it, then I feel taking a decision is much, much easier. And this is what we are focusing on with the Navigator.